Nothing the screen has ever shown before can surpass the thrills of
the Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space podcast.
Created from an atomic fireball hurled from outer space,
The Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space podcast.
threatens man's very existence on Earth.
The Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space podcast.
Battles Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan for mastery of the world. Men quake before the terror of their unleashed fury. All new, all never to be forgotten. A new high in
Visions from Monsterland. Hello everyone and welcome to Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space. My name is Jerry and joining me as always we have the 10 out of 10 Derek.
Yes, I'm here to talk about Destoroyah!
What he said. Joining us is also the one and only Don.
Screonk, everyone.
And last but still least, Mr. Venom.
Greetings and salutations, kaiju lovers.
Alright, we are here to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Godzilla Vs Destoroyah. Did we plan this? Are we just fuck-ups? Who fucking knows? But guess what? We're doing it. So y'all are here for that. But before we do that, how's everyone feeling? Derek, how you feeling?
It's good to be finally back, Jerry, to hear your graceful voice. It's been a while, and, it's been great. It's been a lot of things happening great in the kaiju community lately, with great releases coming out. Like Gamera box set, I've been popping that off, and, it's been great, and I can't wait for all the new stuff that is coming out down the pipeline for us kaiju fans that we've been hearing about through the media, and it's great. It's great. I can't wait to watch Godzilla vs Kong. That's a great thing. I could actually watch that at home now.
Oh yeah, well, maybe. There's a little controversy there. Venom, how you been?
I've been good and bad. It's weird. As of right now, I feel great. Very looking forward to getting back into the kaiju thing. Had some health issues over the last couple of months, which means I will need to go in for surgery after the new year. Very minor procedure, no big deal, but as of right now, feeling great. Can't wait to talk about what is potentially my favorite kaiju film.
Oh, shit. And Don, how have you been?
Crushed under the weight of too many screeners and too much prep work to get done in the time that I have allotted myself. But thankfully, the festive season is upon us, and I'm always in a good mood because of that, so hopefully that'll balance itself out.
That's very true, and we are giving everyone the Christmas gift they wanted, which is Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, covering Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, a fan favorite.
At this point, although I think I should interject that there is a slight bit of controversy we do need to address, and that is the mispronunciation of the actual film. Now, I know that it's actually much easier for most of us to say that the creature is called Destroyer, but the actual Japanese kanji on the original poster calls the creature Destoroyah. That's the official given name.
Actually, that is true, but a fun thing I found out while researching today is Toho did want it to be called Destroyer in America, but they couldn't copyright the word Destroyer, so they went with Destoroyah.
That's what I was going to continue on before you cut me off. That was why they changed it. That was why they changed the lettering, was because that the name Destroyer is a commonplace word. It's not something that you can copyright. So they ended up changing the creature to Destoroyah so that they could copyright it. But yeah, that was where I was going before you cut me off. So thanks for filling that in. But yeah, creature is technically called Destoroyah. That's the official given name. But yeah, the original plan was Destroyer for reasons we'll get into in the film itself. But the true technical name is Destoroyah. So just want to get that out there before we go too far into this.
That's fine. As Americans, we're allowed to call it Destroyer because Toho said we could.
Yeah, and like I said, like I was going on, that was the original plan for the name, and it's easier to say because for some reason that extra O just messes up our mouths for some reason. So yeah, I'm fine with calling it Destroyer, but just
I don't know if I could say it. Say it again.
Destoroyah.
Destoroyah.
You have to say it like King Watanabe. Destroyer!
But yeah, no, that's. I'm just saying. I wanted to get that out there. Just the official technical name is Destoroyah, but Destroyer is fine. That's the original intent and the original meaning behind it. So, just putting it out there. The official name is Destoroyah.
Yeah, I as bad as I am with Japanese names, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that extra O because it would just be me saying it wrong constantly and Don having to like re-say it for me.
I'm not even gonna bother because, like I said, the original name was Destroyer and it's close enough. I'm not gonna bother, but just getting it out there, the technical name is Destoroyah. So now that we've said that, where do
Did
carry on? Or?
Japanese names just come easy to you, or did you have to sit down and like work on pronouncing and listening to them, or did it just immediately click for you?
I got into it early enough that I was learning language anyway, so it wasn't difficult. It wasn't as difficult as you would think it was. I figured it out like 3rd, 4th grade, so I'm learning English anyway. But yeah, that's when I was getting into Godzilla was like 3rd, 4th grade, where you're learning language anyway. So figuring out Japanese pronunciation, it's absolutely no trouble at all.
I always chalk up the reason I can't pronounce Japanese names is my speech impediment. So I'm gonna keep rolling with that.
Because that's an issue. No, that's an actual legitimate issue because a lot of it is how you roll your tongue during many of the words. So yeah, if you have a speech impediment, a language like that would be a lot more difficult than most people who don't. Yeah,
ladies, you heard it here. Don can roll his tongue very well saying Japanese names. Give him a call. He's got you.
Any other languages outside of that fact.
All right. Okay, so we are covering Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Of course, this was released December 9th, 1995, so we are celebrating a 25-year anniversary. Directed by, here we go, Takao Akawara. How off was I?
Not very. Tadao Okawara. Not too far, I have to say. Pretty impressive.
I think I'm getting slightly better. We do have a music score by Akira Ifukube, who refused to do like Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, but he came back for this one saying, I was there for the birth, I should be there for the death. We also have special effects by Koichi Kawakita?
Kawakita, right.
Oh, God damn, I'm good. And this, of course, is produced, it's the last movie in the Godzilla series produced by Tomoyuki Takanaka. There's a few I've said enough. I can just say, like, Ishiro Honda, Tomoyuki, then I mess it up trying to say his goddamn name. Fuck me in the ass. So this was a movie that, because the last two movies, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, did not meet the numbers that the Godzilla vs. Mothra from the Heisei series did, Toho was like, all right, we're done for a bit. We're going to let America have their run. They gave America permission to do a trilogy, which did not work out. And it was actually pretty fun reading about all the stuff that happened in Japan, a lot of fans being outraged. They had built a bronze statue of Godzilla, and a lot of fans went to it to give it not only like 100 yen coins, but they were also giving it tobacco. I guess Godzilla's a smoker.
I guess so. He definitely has great. He needed some great Alka-Seltzer in this movie. It's heartburn.
For real. So that it was pretty interesting reading about all that. There was a company that did tours that showed everywhere Godzilla had kind of destroyed, and they actually really didn't have plans to bring him back until 2004, 2005 for like the big anniversary. But of course, TriStar made Godzilla, and Toho said, well, fuck this shit, and put out Godzilla 2000. And that's the end of that. But for this one, originally the idea was Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla, where Godzilla would go against the ghost of the 1954 Godzilla. But they scrapped that when they were like, oh, we just did Godzilla versus himself 2 times in a row. A third time would probably be a bad idea.
Story, yeah, they pretty much like kind of use that storyline. And, well, for spoilers for people who haven't seen it, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is kind of that movie.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, with that, we're going to get into Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Let's talk about things we loved. Let's start... Well, Venom said this might be his favorite movie of all time when it comes to Godzilla films. So, Venom, let's let you go for... What do you love about this movie?
I love the emotional content in this film. This film, for me, is the most emotional of the original of the, first 20 or so Godzilla films. Absolutely love this film. Love the human interactions. There's just about nothing I dislike about this movie. The soundtrack is great. This is easily, I can't say that it's easily my favorite Godzilla. I can say that it's my favorite Heisei Godzilla. That's a given. But as far as favorite ever, there might be 1 or 2 that might still give it a run for its money. But like I said, between its stellar storytelling, its emotional content, and the fact that the human characters just don't get in the way, they're actually enhancing the story for once rather than just being comic relief or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I've already watched it twice this weekend. I would not be surprised if I watch it again when we're done here.
It's a good time. All right, Derek, what do you love about this movie?
Well, I gotta piggyback on something Venom said about the soundtrack. Ifukube knocked it out of the park for his final Godzilla film. And, right when you hear Requiem, you just get tears because, as you all know the history, it's actually the last song he wrote for the movie. So that makes it a little bit more sentiment in that sense. And, I just, it actually brings me back to when I got to see King of the Monsters, because when you just hear a few lines of Requiem through Rebirth from Bear McCreary's reimagining, it just brings so much emotion, and it's actually tears you up because it's a sad scene, and we all know that scene when we're going to talk about it later, but it's the Godzilla death music, and it's amazing, and it goes right into that final shot, and then to that fucking amazing closing credit sequence, which is fucking gives Freddy's Dead a run of its money. It's the better of the closing credits.
Well, the only thing good about Freddy's Dead is when the credits roll, because then I don't have to watch this movie anymore.
Yeah, it's the best part of the movie.
All right, Don, what about you? What do you love?
I'm going to say Destoroyah himself. One of my favorite aspects is the fact that this is... we've seen it in the past where it's the multi-stage creatures. But this is the one that is actually a definitive, true example of multi-stage creatures in the course of the film. Because even though there's 4 different designs, we see 5 different stages of the creature's existence and evolution. And cramming that into a Godzilla film the way that they do is really impressive and really kind of cool, and I like that.
Yeah, I always call this movie Godzilla versus the goddamn devil because of Destoroyah. Especially, like, he's got a mouth that's a mixture of fucking Predator and Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So as for me, my favorite thing about this movie is actually kaiju night battles. I love kaiju fighting at night, and I just feel like not only does this movie have the perfect atmosphere and the perfect designs for both Destoroyah and Godzilla, it just works so fucking well with the ending. Like, even like when the I don't know, stage 2 destroyer creatures coming out of the aquarium and they're like fucking up everything and it's like a mini horror movie. Like them coming out at night, they just look so fucking good. So the thing I love about this movie is all the nighttime kaiju scenes. It's goddamn beautiful.
Yeah.
But and I feel like we could almost do a whole nother round on things we love about this movie because it's just that type of movie. But
maybe we could do an Oreo effect. Maybe we could end in some more positives after we get into some negatives.
Yeah, we'll just do a whole gush thing at the end. So, but with that being said, what do we not like? Derek, what did you not like about this movie?
I kind of feel like it's kind of forced that they already had like a freezing Super X weapon out of nowhere, and you know it's kind of out of nowhere of the movie. It's like really the Super X3, and he's like, we're gonna build it with. It already has enhanced like freezer missiles. You know, it's kind of retarded in that scientific way that you get in a lot of these movies where, well, we had this all in the background, and it's kind of like, really, you know, it's like. You're gonna have this weapon.
What application were you working on for freezing things in war? Like, I know it worked for Russia during World War II, but I mean, what are you going to do with that now?
Yeah, maybe a volcano, you know, goes off and they need the Super X3 to put it back to sleep. I don't know.
Okay, that's, you know, I could see that. I'm kind of down with that.
Yeah, I could. You know, it's a minor complaint. You know, It's just, it felt kind of formulaic in that sense where we just had to have another Super X into the movie somehow.
What's funny is that if the movie was set in California, it would have made perfect sense that we have one because of all our damn brush fires.
Yeah, why haven't y'all created a freeze ray?
I don't know. We probably don't have $4 billion lying around.
You know.
Yeah.
Not going to get into the political context of that. But Venom, do you have anything you don't like about this movie?
About the only thing I can really pull out is I wish we would have gotten more of Godzilla Jr. before his quote-unquote death. Maybe even some interactions between, you know, Big G and Little G, but, you know, not as sugary as some of the interactions that we've had in the past. I definitely don't need a repeat of Manili by any stretch. But just some kind of interactions I thought would have been cool. Maybe even a little bit of a backstory on how, you know, we have another Godzilla floating around, blah, 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 or at least more than they give us in the film. So that's really it. And that's a nitpick at best. I mean, it doesn't deter my enjoyment of the film by any stretch.
Okay. Don?
Yeah, mine also kind of falls under a nitpick, but dear God, Kawakita, stop with the fucking match shots. You're not a master at it. You're fucking terrible. All of the scenes are obvious and just absolutely jarring, and just stop. Stick to the miniatures and suit making. Stop with the match shots.
Yeah, I think of that match shot in the beginning as Godzilla goes through what looks like fucking Hong Kong. And I was reading about how their budget for special effects got cut. The time for the special effects in post-production got cut, and there wasn't much he could really do. Because he was like, you can look at the scene of Godzilla going through the city, and there's people just calmly walking away.
Well, the one that always sticks out for me is when Destoroyah grabs Godzilla by the tail and drags him down the airport. A plane is pulling in and pulling into the and taxiing up like it's ready to engage passengers. Like, seriously? Like.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because there's the scene because when he's dragging him and he grabs him by the tail and he's dragging him on the airport, the runway. You can literally see in the foreground a plane pulling up and it's taxiing up to the runway and it's ready to engage passengers. Like, you're really gonna have people at an airport where at a giant monster battle ready to engage passengers?
Especially when it's supposed to be all like abandoned because they're supposed to.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, like I said, it's more of a nitpick than anything, but I mean, all of the match shots in this film are just atrocious, and Kawakita did that, I think, in Space Godzilla, where he had a few pretty bad match shots. So I don't know if he was just disinterested or if he just lost his touch or what. But stop with the match shots. Stick to the miniatures, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had an even smaller fucking budget. But you're right. He still is not, even with a smaller budget and less time. He's never been good with match shots.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? As for me, mine probably follows under nitpick also. I feel like they give us a bunch of really important human characters and then kind of do nothing with them. Like, they're kind of there to just be like, I'm related to this person from 1954. I'm doing the same thing as this person from 1954. Like, it just seems like they're giving us a lot of important characters and then really doing nothing with them. But the one thing that when I was watching this film, this is a negative, but off my negative, I'll say this. I was watching this film and it made me realize, Godzilla films always have really good female characters. They're not always necessarily like strong, like fucking Ripley and Alien strong, but like they're never dumb. They're never like, if they get talked down to, they easily prove the man talking down to them wrong. And watching this movie, you had a couple of different female characters that were all strong female characters. They never had to play second fiddle to a man. They never really had to be talked down to by a man. And just in general with Godzilla films, I don't think they get enough praise for just how well they actually do their female characters.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that are saying that this is the way that you should actually do female characters in movies. There was an article written maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It showed up online and I saw it like floating around on Facebook when I first started joining kaiju groups, and it just kept like showing up every now and then. But it was about the importance of establishing not, the badass ass-kicking female, but multi-dimensional, take no shit woman. And it was all about women in the Godzilla universe. And I wish I could remember the name of it or who wrote it, but I saw it like when I first started joining a lot of like kaiju Facebook groups. It would show up like maybe once every 5 or 6 months. Somebody would share it and we'd all comment on it. But yeah, it's something that I think people have noticed, and there is like some discussion about it in the community, but it not to a degree that it warrants. It deserves more attention than what it does. Because I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, I just think about all the like you'll see a lot of comments of how women are done in film, like whether it's horror films or a Zack Snyder film, and it just makes me really go, well, fuck, just take lessons from Godzilla films. They do women perfect. They feel natural. They don't feel overwritten. They don't feel underwritten. Like, it's just perfect. Even in this movie, with my complaint being that the characters do not feel important enough for the important stuff they're doing and saying. And they feel, kind of like Derek said, where there's a lot of things just kind of almost feel forced. The characters seem like they're trying to force that 1954 nostalgia onto you.
Yeah.
But they're still not badly written characters. They're just kind of underplayed in this movie.
Yeah, the thing that makes those characters kind of, passable is, the inclusion of Mimiko Kuchi, who comes back as Miko Yamane in this film, which I love that scene when we first see her come back. And it's a cool callback to 54 where she's talking about Sarah Zawa and stuff. I love that scene so much, and she has the flashback dream. It's like, bigs up because I think she was dying during this film.
Yeah, it was her last film she did, and I think I think the thing I read said she died 3 years later, but this was the last film she ever did.
Yeah, I know. I kind of knew it was like something like that. I knew it was like her last film, and I do like that connection where they do kind of bring back that character. And she actually, she's kind of better in this movie than she is in 54. It's hard to say. She's great in 54 in some scenes, but it's like I like the emotion that she gives in the performance, even though she's only in a few scenes in this one. But Serizawa's dub voice in this. Bleh.
Oh my god, so bad. Oh, this is definitely like the Heisei era was like the time where Toho was like, we're only doing the one international dub and that's it. None of this Shoujo shit where there's 2 to 3 different fucking dubs. We're not doing it. There's one dub, that's all you get, and it's the international dub we had recorded in Hong Kong.
Ones, I don't actually really mind the dubs for these ones.
Yeah, no, they're not bad. Like, it's not as bad as, like, say, the Battle Royale English dub. That's the worst dub I've ever heard.
Oh. Oh, God, I just got flashbacks to having to hear that.
You get Don PTSD?
Seriously, no, that was the first time I ever saw the movie, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
For such a good movie, that dub is so bad.
I have no idea why anybody would ever want to save that and preserve it for the future.
Here's a deep cut for the horror fans. It makes the zombie 90s Pestilence dub seem like it's not a parody.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so fucking bad.
It's serious. I was not joking when I said I have no idea why anyone would want to preserve that for future generations.
100% agree. I prefer dubs. I prefer to watch a movie in an English dub as long as it has a decent enough translation. Because, growing up with Godzilla movies, a poor dubbing isn't that big of a deal to us. But Battle Royale, fuck that noise. Nah.
Yeah.
Can't do it. I respect Battle Royale way too much. Okay. So now that we've done that, let's talk about the Godzilla suit. Holy shit. Burning Godzilla is one of the most popular suit designs. Does not translate very well to toys. 90% of the toys just paint orange on him and are like, he's fucking burning. It's awful. Guys, companies don't do that. NECA, stop just putting random colors on figures and saying it's a new version. Speaking of.
They gotta make their money.
Yeah, they're fucking doing it. Some of them look really fucking bad. I've got like a Bandai burning Godzilla figure and it looks awful. But I do have like a Vinyl Wars one where it's actually like the red is this one. The Godzilla is extremely dark. He's like black instead of green, and he has the red pieces on him are more like translucent, so that when you shine a light through them, it actually kind of glows. It's a really fucking awesome figure. But most Burning Godzilla toys do not look that great. There are some that look fantastic though. But the design for this is really cool. Originally they apparently put like some translucent like paste on him and made him the whole thing glow, but they said it looked just too supernatural, so they dropped that and ended up using like 200 orange bulbs and refit pieces from the Godzilla vs Space Godzilla suit so that it could shine through. Unfortunately, that made the Godzilla suit extremely heavy, and it almost knocked out our guy multiple times because of the gas that would come off of the light bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
But Venom, how do you feel about the Godzilla suit?
Oh, love it. Iconic. The fact that the very opening shot of Godzilla in this movie, which, by the way, you have to wait all of 30 seconds to see, is just so great. I love how much Godzilla we get in this movie. I love how much kaiju action we get. But yeah, that costume is great. Not a favorite necessarily. I'm not sure where I would lie my absolute favorite Godzilla suit, but I mean this one's up there. And this one, and this one, it's a lot to do with the eyes too. I absolutely love the choice of the glowing red eyes. It adds that extra sense of menace to Big G's look for this film. So yeah, kudos for the design.
Yep. Don, how do you feel about the suit design?
One of my favorites. Probably not a top 5, but for sure top 10. I do agree. I love that burning red orangey fire to his eyes. I think that looks incredible. It doesn't really seem like there's much else it does other than just painting a few splotches on him, because it's Heisei Godzilla with the marks on his body and on his chest, his thighs, his hips, and I think his back plates light up as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not. There's not like much else other than that. So it's not like it's a unique or creative design, but it's just a memorable image, and I think that's what gives it a lot of its prowess for me.
100%. Derek, what about you?
Well, I'm actually a big fan of the Heisei design of Godzilla and Hall. It's kind of like the iconic look because it's through the whole series from like Biollante on. It has like that similar look with a few changes here and there. I kind of like that because they kept it like one look instead of like 15 different suits in fucking 3 years type of deal that we usually get in the show era. But I kind of like this one because it does look a little. I love the bulge and the heartburn red chest. And I could represent and feel that when he has that heartburn.
I really wish we would have seen like Burning Godzilla doing like commercials for heartburn medicine, like during this time. Like, why did they not do that? Like just have him with like all red and glowing and taking heartburn medicine, and then it immediately goes to like him cooling off and like
you get this shot from the film where he's covered in ice after they blast him.
Yeah, exactly. And just oh, I'm cooled down, or Mentos. Oh, the fresh maker. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, but I like it. I like the new like redness to him and the red eyes. I have to agree with. It's Heisei Godzilla, but with a little more tweaks to it, and it fits the film. It fits what's going on in the film, so I had no problems with it.
Yeah. I love the design. I'm not a big fan of the Heisei design in general. In general, I've always felt like the Heisei design was always a little too generic, a little too boring. But it's fine. I've always hated the Heisei design for Godzilla's kneecaps. It bothers me way more than it should bother any fucking normal human being in the world. Like, it's like the thigh fat meeting the calf fat, but then it just has this ball right between them. It just looks weird. It like no one's kneecap sticks out that far. It really bothers me. I don't like. It's not like with kneecaps that fucking big. He should just knee everyone in the fucking head and just win every fight right then. Like if Ultraman had kneecaps that big, he would win every fight just doing fucking Sagat from Street Fighter 2's knee hits. It's ridiculous. So I've never really liked the fat rolls for the Heisei Godzilla, I guess is what I would call it.
Well, in general, not just in Godzilla, but in general, the Heisei really did not get bulk right. Because everyone from, even Mechagodzilla too, to an extent.
Oh my god, yes.
Space Godzilla especially, and even worse, Destoroyah, all of them look like they're in so much dire need of a Stairmaster. Poor
Destoroyah can't even jerk off with his hand because he can't reach his cock.
Yeah, the bulk in these things, I understand that you want to show the fact that these things are 100 meters tall and they're going to be heavy and weighty and massive, but the bulk, they didn't get bulk right anywhere throughout the genre. So it's not just a Godzilla thing, it's a Heisei problem, and I do agree. I think that's one of the major issues with the suits in this series, because most of them look like that. So
yeah, their head designs are fantastic in the Heisei series. It's just the body designs.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Obviously, all these suits look better than certain suits in the Showa series. We won't get into. But, nonetheless, still a fantastic suit design. It definitely was cool to see them do something that, like, really turn it up and really add a little fucking spice, a little caliente to that suit, if you will. Yeah. So I loved it. Okay, with that being said, let's talk about the goddamn devil. Destoroyah is easily, without a doubt, the most evil-looking kaiju to ever step foot in the Godzilla series.
And
Yeah,
there is not one single remorseful piece of that thing's body design anywhere. That thing looks absolutely terrifying.
Mm-hmm. He's set for war.
Yeah, and then oh man, there's a part in the movie where Godzilla and Destoroyah are fighting, and Destoroyah's in his, he's in his final form, and he's got the fucking big yellow horn, I guess you would call it, but he can basically turn that into what looks like a fucking sword a Gundam would use. And just fucking hit Godzilla with it. There's one point he swings and he hits Godzilla's shoulder, and then he swings again and it hits Godzilla's stomach. And I'm like, you can't even bend down that far, Destoroyah. How the fuck did you hit his stomach?
He's like, I could do it myself, and he just sucks his own dick.
Yeah, but nonetheless, the design is fucking awesome. Starting out with, of course, the first form is some crapshoe looking thing, but then we get into the I don't know, it's spider form. It looks like Pennywise's spider form.
A spider crawler.
The thing it's a mixture of the spider gremlin if it fucked a predalien.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go. And it's got
I always just call them giant ticks.
Giant ticks. But yeah, then it's got the fucking 3 or 4 claws on each side of its mouth, and they can open its mouth, and it's got 100% the rip-off alien thing. Surprised they got away with that. That is clearly inspired. But the use of red, the gold eyes, I love the glowing gold eyes. Then he goes from that to this weird misshapen flying thing that kind of looks like it reminded me of Zegra from the Showa Gamera series.
It does kind of look like Zegra with the fins.
Doesn't it? That's what I thought of when I saw it.
I haven't seen Zegra flying, so I wouldn't know.
I am thinking of the right kaiju from the Showa series, right? It's Zegra. I know Zegra looks like really a shark.
Yeah,
he's a shark.
There's one of them that I swear looks like it.
I know what he is, but I haven't seen him. All I've seen of him is just the infamous still of him on the beach with Gamera laying over the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's different when he's in the water.
Yeah, it's how he looks in the water.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that the only image I've seen of Zegra is just that infamous still shot.
Well, it sounds like we need to do more Gamera Showa movies. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about Destoroyah. Don, how do you feel about the Destroyer suit?
The final form?
Yeah, all the forms overall.
The final form is a thing of beauty. Again, a little too top heavy, but the huge claws, the battle wings, the glowing horns. I love the final design. It's probably my favorite of the Heisei monsters. Mm-hmm. The flying form, you don't see it in battle as much. It's probably only a couple of shots. It doesn't look bad. It looks okay, but it doesn't really do much. But I actually really like this small little crab, the second and fourth stages. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The one that gets repeated. Yeah, that thing looks great. I really like it. And I really like the way that they articulate it so it looks like it's actually believable. Because it would have been so easy to just have 2 or 3 of the little claw things on the bottom of it move to simulate its movement. But it actually looks like most of them are moving at once. So it kind of has a nice little semblance of reality to it. And I really like the design. I like the way it comes off. The toys. But beyond that, major props for Destoroyah.
In case people don't know, for certain shots they actually used Bandai toys on the miniature sets.
Yeah.
So there's that. All right, Venom, how do you feel about our boy Destoroyah?
Absolutely love him.
Shot where you see them. Yeah, there's an establishing shot just before we get to one of the military commands where you see them. You see the tanks on one side, and you see the things set on the side, and then they do it again in the battle where they come together and they like scuttle off into the background, and then there's this huge explosion, and then the one big one appears. So you see it in two distinct shots, but oh Jesus Christ, no.
Yeah, it's pretty apparent. Venom, what do you feel? How do you feel about these Destoroyah suits?
Oh, I love all of them. Honestly, the juvenile Destoroyah is probably my least favorite, and I think that's the one that you guys are calling the spider crawlers, just because it's the most like basic monster look. But I really like its aggregate form, its third form, where it basically gets bigger and it kind of sprouts a scorpion tail. I fucking love that form. I think it's its third form. It's slightly larger, and its tail becomes.
No, that's still that's the fourth one, because the third one's the flying.
Right.
You're talking the fourth one, the one where it battles Junior.
I think so, but is that fourth? I thought that was third. I thought flying was fourth.
No, it's the fourth because it has the scorpion tail on it. That's why that's the distinguishing thing, because it's essentially the second and the fourth. Because you have the second stage, which is the one that battles the marine, and then you get the flying form. That's the third one, and then you get the fourth one that battles Junior, and then the fifth one is the big mama.
Okay, so I just got aggregate and flying reverse, but yeah. So basically, I mean, its micro form, its microscopic form, absolutely love. Looks like just some terrifying ancient monster. Its juvenile form is great, flying. But that aggregate form, which I guess is now been established as its fourth form, yeah, I think that one doesn't get enough love because ultimately its final form is so fucking spectacular. You almost forget everything that came before it. So yeah. And for anybody who doesn't know, I absolutely love scorpions. So anytime I see anything that has a scorpion form to it, absolutely love it. I have multiple scorpions tattooed on my body. But yeah, I all five forms of Destoroyah are just spectacular. Absolutely love them.
You're a fan of scorpions, but you go under Venom instead of the Spider-Man villain Scorpion. What's up with that?
My full nickname, it's kind of a long story, but I'll give you the quick short version. I used to raise scorpions when I lived in Pittsburgh, like emperor scorpions. I used to raise emperor scorpions, and obviously when you raise scorpions, you have to handle them, and eventually you're going to get stung. I got stung plenty of times. My roommate at the time made the joke that I have more scorpion venom in my system than blood, and scorpion venom actually became my nickname, like my full nickname. And then years later, I just shortened it to Mr. Venom. So there you go, history lesson.
Okay, well now we all know. I was always curious. I just thought you were a big fan of Venom from Spider-Man.
I mean, yes, but that's not where the nickname came from.
Okay, fair. All right, now we know. Derek, how do you feel about these suits?
I just found out that Venom's like Pat Morita and King Cobra.
He really is.
But I like all the designs. They're all pretty great for what they are. Like even the crawling one, I agree, it's probably my least favorite, but it's still pretty effective for the scenes that it's in, especially when it's trying to fuck with that one news reporter girl. It's like, she's like, I'm gonna fucking lick you with my big tongue, bitch. It's fucking funny in that sense. And, it just crashed through all those cars and he was chasing after people. It's pretty fun, and then when it gets to the flying form, and then like the form where it fights Junior, and then it gets into his final form where it's like, I'm just gonna pick this fucking bitch up and fucking throw him through a building. It's fucking great.
One thing I don't like about that spider form is the its oxygen beam. We just saw the fishes deteriorating in front of our face. But when we see it on humans, you never see any of the humans deteriorate or anything like that. And I really feel like that was a misstep. The beam itself looks cool, and I like when it hits and then it disappears in front and kind of comes out the back. But then the people just kind of fall down, and I was just always kind of bummed out about that.
Yeah, it seems like an expensive effect.
Yeah, it does, but I'm just like, you showed us you did it in Godzilla vs. Hedorah. You can do it now.
Yeah, the fish was a callback, though, to the original. I understand why they did that, too. But I can see what you mean. You wish you could see it on like, what would happen to a human.
Yeah, I want to see human skeletons. God damn it. Tired of only seeing it in Hedorah. Anytime I want to see a human skeleton and Godzilla at the same time, which I don't know why that combination keeps fucking bringing me in, I gotta watch Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Could have been watching Godzilla vs. Destoroyah.
Yeah, but I like to smoke a lot of weed to Godzilla vs. Hedorah, so there's that.
I mean, that's a valid point. You know,
In Godzilla's defense, though, if he uses his atomic bomb on a person, are there going to be even any bones left?
Well, I'm not talking about Godzilla, dude. I'm talking about the oxygen destroyer beam that's being shot out of Destoroyah.
Yeah.
Specifically, the spider crawling Destoroyah. By the time he gets to where he looks like the goddamn devil, then, you know, it's like, fuck it, bro. You do what you want. I ain't saying shit.
I got a question to ask you about Destroyer real quick. How do you feel about him just being taken down by ice beams at the end? Like, really?
Yeah,
like 15 times in the movie.
The ending, beating Destoroyah is like, he's the only thing. We can't defeat Godzilla, but he can defeat Godzilla, and this bitch will die to ice. Like, we good. Like, yeah, the ending feels a little convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But
it goes back into the mic. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
You see that the freezing of Godzilla and the meltdown, and then you see the rise of Godzilla Jr., and you kind of forget that Destroyer went out like a bitch.
Well, I mean, that's good filmmaking. You know,
It really is.
You have a weakness, so kind of, you know, sweep it under the carpet a little bit, because that was never, I mean, consciously, yes, I understand that it is a very, very convenient ending, but at no point, during none of my rewatches ever over the years, has that ever really been a big issue for me. So, I
just wanted to bring it up to you guys to see how you guys felt about it, because I know a lot of people do bitch about it a lot, like Godzilla doesn't get the final blow on the main bad guy, you know.
Right.
There's a YouTuber. It might be Titan Goji. I can't remember, who fucking hates this movie and like has done like this huge like long ass video on why this is a bad movie, why it's disrespectful to the 1954 thing, and I've watched it and he brings up a lot of good points. But I'm just like, I don't feel that when I watch the movie. The movie, when I'm watching the movie, is so well paced between.
Oh, sorry.
Drag racing over here.
Yeah.
But the movie is so well paced between having decent human scenes and great kaiju scenes, jumping between the two fantastically, and giving us enough nostalgia to, you know, also prop up a few of the other moments. So no time when I'm watching this do I ever even really have the time to think negatively about the movie. It moves so fast and it's doing such a good job. It's not overly complicated like a certain other Heisei Godzilla movie, who will remain nameless, but it does involve a dragon with 3 heads. You know, it just does such a good job as a movie, like, especially with pacing, because some Godzilla movies have bad pacing, where you're really just like, get to the Godzilla fight. No one gives a shit about you fucking robbing ancient tombs and how your ex-wife's a bitch. We don't care.
I like that movie, but we'll get into that when we get into that movie. But you know,
no, that movie's not bad. It's definitely not the worst Heisei Heisei Godzilla movie, which I still don't understand how the worst Heisei Godzilla movie has fucking Mechagodzilla and Rodan in it. How did you fuck that up? Because you had bad pacing and you're kind of boring.
I love you, baby. Let's fuck the guy that invented Garuda.
I know, I'm watching that, and I'm just like, are you gonna fuck the baby Godzilla? Like, is this some weird, like, Godzilla version of Tammy and the T-Rex? What am I watching?
I was getting some Dr. Doolittle vibes with the guy who does building flying weapons, like, he's just trying to fall in love. And talk to the baby.
For real, I don't understand any of this. But,
speaking of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, that guy is actually the pilot of Super X3, the main dude from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2.
Oh yeah, dude, the Heisei series reuses so many goddamn actors, but then a lot of them are playing the same role, which is actually pretty dope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he actually the same character, or is he a different character in this movie?
I didn't. I know what you're talking about. I didn't think to check the cast list. I think it's just a generic. I think they're just using him as a general different person, because if you remember, he would have been. Well, technically, it may have been the same guy, because if you remember at the end of Mechagodzilla, he was the pilot of Mechagodzilla, so it may have as well have been the same character. Not like acknowledging it or anything, but yeah, it may have been. I mean, I didn't think to check the IMDb thing or not, but
talk about a career downgrade. You go from piloting Mechagodzilla to flying the JX3 or whatever the fuck they call it, that just turns things into popsicles.
Hey, it works at the end of the day. That's all that matters.
That's true. I should shut up. That I'm talking shit about something that 100% worked. It's not like fucking Mogera in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla.
You know, it's like it took down Destroy. It's like, we're the fucking kings of Super X, you know? It took down the devil.
It took down the goddamn devil, and that's what's important. Does anyone else have anything else they want to say about this movie?
Just, fucking, that whole final credit sequence where it goes through, like, all the movies. Fucking amazing. Yeah. And you get little flashes of, like, King Kong versus Godzilla in the middle, like, dun, 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 dun. It's fucking so good. I fucking love that whole scene. And, Ifukube, rest in peace, man. Oh, maestro.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely. It's his theme song. He plays it over his best moments, so...
Yep. There were multiple spots of great score in this. I thought the score during Godzilla's getting frozen was pretty fucking epic. Obviously, death of Godzilla.
The Super X battle is one of my favorites.
Exactly. Even the kind of, I mean, assuming that song, we could call it the Super X3 theme, the song that's playing.
Because it's technically used. It was actually written earlier when it was used for the scene of it flying inside when it's powering up to go into battle the second. Because they reused the song. That was the original spot in the film where it was supposed to have been placed. So it's the Super X3 theme, but and they used it earlier in the film because if Ifukube couldn't come up with the new battle theme because he'd already used. I think he'd already used up all of his time for the thing because it was so fast that the production was so fast that he didn't have time to write a new battle theme. So because it was short enough, they just reused the Super X3 theme because, again, it's also Super X3, like, triumphant because he actually wins the fight. But the actual reason why it was used was the powering up to go into battle in the second battle. That was its actual composition piece, and then because he was just out of time and couldn't come up with a new piece for the first fight when they froze him, they reused it because it showed Super X3 triumphant in the sequence. So yeah, that's actually Super X3's theme song, the fight between Godzilla and Super X where it freezes him.
Yeah,
it's technically called, on the soundtrack it's technically called the Super X3 theme. So that's what it's used for, but it was actually for the second sequence where it's charging up in the battle station heading out into battle.
You know, it's appropriate that it's called Super X3 because that's basically Super Triple X. And let's be honest, it covers Godzilla's face in the thick whiteness.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Which there are points in the freezing of Godzilla where they use that CGI, and for a brief moment, you're like, oh, that looks bad, and then then the CGI goes away, and it's back to, like, now just a frozen suit, and you're like, oh, that looks awesome.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone got anything else they want to say on the movie before we move into the Ultraman report?
I mean, you know, honestly, I could talk this movie up for 2 hours, but yeah, I mean, this movie is damn near pretty close to perfect for me. Amazing score, great cinematography. Jerry mentioned the nighttime kaiju scenes, which are all impeccable. My favorite Heisei villain by far. My second favorite Godzilla villain overall ever. I can't say enough good things about this movie. Easily my favorite Heisei, and probably a top 3 or 4 overall over the entire franchise for me.
Dope.
Nice.
All right. Well, with that being said, it's Ultraman report. We've got in fun fact, the release date for this Ultraman episode is December 18th, 1966. Keeping with, we're all December here. This episode is called My Home is Earth. But I will not be doing the Ultraman report. Instead, I'm handing it over to Derek, and Derek is going to walk everyone through this fantastic episode of Ultraman.
Yep, that's right. Before I was clearing my throat there. Sorry, guys, but here we go. My Home is Earth. Like you said, premiered December 18th of 1966. This episode opens up where you see this, you get this like dialogue heavy thing where, the International Peace Conference is about to be held. And then all we see like these sudden air accidents where we see planes exploding and then they call the Science Patrol in. They're all investigating, and they actually have Mr. Allen, who we saw in previous episodes because he's part of the Science Patrol French fucking line.
What's up with it? Why is the Science Patrol always hooking up with the French connection?
G98, man, it's all connected.
Holy shit, it is.
I'm telling you, that's how maybe Emmerich was more of a fan of Ultraman. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know, but pretty much they investigate, and they're trying to investigate, and they have like these lines of dialogue of what is going on. It's like invisible walls and shit like this, and then we cut to another scene where there's like this police chase happening where they're chasing after this police car, and the car ends up crashing into what appears to be an invisible wall. The Science Patrol go to investigate the next day later, and they can't go any further because they end up hitting this invisible wall in one of their spaceships, and they almost get killed by what appears to be an invisible rocket. And what ends up happening after that is Ito and Fuji are in the other plane. They're chasing after. Ito's got like his little handgun thing there.
Oh yeah, they said it's a tracer beam or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a tracer beam or something like that. And he's trying to trace it and track it. But he can't hit it because it's going super fast and he can't see it. And he's like, how are you supposed to see this? And, the thing ends up getting out of sight and getting out of mind. They can't find it. So what Ito ends up finding out, and, when they go back to the headquarters, is that this thing is actually flying at a super high, fast frequency speed where it's not actually invisible. You just can't see it because it's going super fast. So what Ito ends up doing, as we see in this line, he's actually invented new fucking inventions. The night he stays up all night inventing like these spectra beams, like the spectra beta, spectra alpha, and spectra gamma. Actually, gamma, the Hulk, But it's actually fun in that sense where, there's a scene later where, they're about to go on the mission and Ito's asleep standing up. He's like, Ito, what are you doing? Oh, what happened? You know?
And I'm like, y'all gotta quit being hard on Ito. He's inventing all y'all shit.
You know, that's exactly how I felt too. Like the captain's just a dick.
Like, at least Fuji was like, I'm really impressed by someone who can invent stuff. It's really cool. Like, Fuji gives him props this episode,
And
but
she
like,
even brings him coffee to keep him awake.
yeah, Fuji's where it's at. The captain, I don't know what's wrong with that motherfucker.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick. You know, so they end up using like these new specter rays to find this what appears to be a flying saucer as we finally get to see it. They end up shooting the flying saucer down and it crashes, and then we're introduced to our main creature of this episode, Jamila.
Yep.
Yeah, Jamila.
You know, and I gotta stop here, and you know, we get the first look at Jamila. I'll start with Jerry. Jerry, what did you think about Jamila's look?
Ooh, boy. You know, sometimes I go, I know they've got to make a lot of monster outfits, but like, what the fuck am I looking at? It's a thing of dried mud with a mouth and eyes, and then like just really long arms. It's just weird to look at. Like, I don't like. I'm not impressed by it, but the more I look at it, I'm just like, it's so fucking weird that like I start off where I'm like, this is awful, and then by the end of it, I'm like, this is so weird that, you know what? Fuck it, I give it a pass.
Don, what do you think about Jamila?
I like it more when he's in motion because it hides how fucking low budget the suit is. Because that thing wrinkles like crazy. I mean, it folds in on itself like so much when he's just like standing still. I have no idea where the hell they were trying to go with this thing. I mean, it looks like a Cobra hood, but it's his entire body. I mean, like Jerry said, you know, you gotta pump these things out quickly. I mean, it's definitely the weakest looking villain he's faced so far. Yeah, it's definitely not
Jesus, Venom.
one of my favorites.
I'm sorry, dog. Venom just in the group chat sent the picture of the fucking. If y'all remember that Looney Tunes episode where Bugs Bunny is in like this castle and this doctor releases his monster, and it's just a big red like furry monster.
It's Gossamer, man.
It looks just like it, except like if you put a trash bag over it and then caked it with mud.
Oh, so good.
You got the jokes, man. What do you think?
Oh, man, I had no idea what I was looking at. At first, I thought it was a shaved Gossamer, who's the character that Jerry's talking about from the old Looney Tunes cartoons. Then I thought it looked like a Yeti with Down syndrome. I had no idea what to make of this creature whatsoever. And what's funny is that once we're done talking about this, the walkthrough, I'm actually going to praise this episode. This episode may be my favorite Ultraman episode, even though it has one of the worst kaiju designs on the series. But, man, yeah, I mean, and my wife was actually watching that episode with me. She just happened to be home, and yeah, she couldn't stop laughing. I had to rewind multiple scenes because she was laughing too hard so I could hear what they were saying. But yeah, this was a little bit of a misstep for the Ultraman filmmakers.
I'll tell you what, though, if there was a Ultraman kaiju football team, he's my fucking linebacker.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, what I got out of it, he kind of looks like a steroid Putty from Power Rangers, kind of.
Holy shit, yes.
You know, that's the way I would describe it. Yeah, you know, it's like if a Putty fucked a pancake. And then did steroids. The baby did steroids his whole life. That's what it looked like.
Wow.
But back to the episode at hand. You know, the one who actually names the monster is Mr. Allen, the French correspondent for the Science Patrol. And he recognizes it, and he starts to cry in guilt as they are chasing after it and firing it, and even Fuji sees this. Mr. Allen, are you okay? Why are you crying? and the monster ends up getting away, and it goes into the nighttime where we get they're still in the hunt, and they're around a fire, and they start asking Mr. Allen questions. Mr. Allen, why weren't you acting that way? Why do you know the monster's name, and how do you know? And he pretty much, this is actually the part of this episode that kind of blew me the fuck away. Jamila is not actually a monster. It was a human astronaut that went into outer space from an unknown country through, like, it was part of, like, that whole arms race between the United States and Russia, space race, and he got lost in space. And he tells the story, pretty much the theory is Jamila went on this desert planet and adapted to it and became this creature. And he's back on Earth because he blames the Earth's people for what happened to him, pretty much. And before we get any further, that whole thing is, like, very deep to take in when you first hear it. As we see later on, Ito's, like, first reaction is like, what the fuck? What, it's kind of scary for Ito, because where does this actually happen to one of them? Would they hunt him down too, and hunt one of his friends down, pretty much? It's kind of fucked up. In a sense,
There's a good amount of social commentary here. I mean, are you willing to kill a friend to help, the general population? Kill one to save millions. It's an equation that we shouldn't even have to think about. But when it comes to someone that we actually know and care about, I could see why that doctor was, very emotional, downright crying during some of those scenes. I mean, I couldn't imagine what that's like, knowing that you're trying to kill a friend. Yes, you're doing it for the sake of humanity, but you're still killing a friend. So yeah, that's a big reason why this is probably my favorite Ultraman episode ever. This episode is definitely not as fun as most of the past episodes. I mean, you walk away from this episode almost depressed, like it's not a happy episode. But
if you want depressing episodes, just wait until we hit the 30s.
Oh, I'm sure we got a lot more coming, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for more episodes like this, because it's almost like the series is starting to take a turn from, like, a straight kid show to maybe starting to deal with more young adult issues, and I like that.
Yeah,
I like
2 words: Monster Graveyard.
Nice, can't wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying the evolution of the show. It seems to be growing up, kind of, while still keeping its playful, whimsical kaiju feel. But yeah, this episode was definitely a heavy thinker. Lots of social commentary here.
Yeah, in that sense where it goes into Ito's doesn't want to be part of the Science Patrol anymore, and they're trying to talk him out of it. And they're like, pretty much, if we have to stop one to save millions, we have to do it. And I know how you feel, and they're all talking into it. It goes into the next day where this monster is attacking a village, and it's it's confronted by giant flamethrowers. The mutation, though, its resistance to the flames. It's actually because its body is adapted to heat, pretty much. So the flamethrowers have no effect on it. But pretty much what ends up happening is fucking. The village is on fire. The funny thing, this fucking kid Akira is just fucking chasing after pigeons and shit in the village, burning buildings and shit. And his mother's like, come, and she just passes out. Hayata's going to save the kid while this is happening. Ito's talking to the monster straight up. Look what you're doing. And there's a moment of clarity where the human inside the monster actually comes through. And he's looking at what he's done, but then he snaps back and he's like, "I'm gonna go fuck up this buildings." And he's pretty much end up going to like the peace, wherever the peace conference is gonna be at. You could tell which building it is because it has all these fake looking flags around it.
the plastic straws for flagpoles.
Yeah, exactly. And he's about to do it. And they end up we kind of find out what the monster's weakness is because they shoot rain bombs at him. Water is the monster's weakness.
That's where Shyamalan got it.
Yeah.
See, I'm starting to realize M. Night Shyamalan's not nearly as original as people give him credit for. Fuck that.
Yeah. Swing away! Swing away!
Swing away, Ultraman! Swing away! But yeah, we get to see the monster's weakness, which makes sense because even how shitty the monster looks, it does kind of look like it lives in a desert habitat from the looks of it, from what I've seen of it. So it kind of makes sense. Hayata puts the boy down, saves him, and then he turns into Ultraman for the final battle. You know what that means. Don, take it away, buddy.
All right, Ultraman flies in as a furious Jamila rips several flags, including the French one, I noticed. He rips several flags from the entranceway and manages to shoulder tackle him away from the rest. Jamila rights himself and dodges as Ultraman tries a flying leap and misses, causing Jamila to pounce on top of him and try to strangle Ultraman. The two begin rolling around trying to get the upper hand until Jamila throws Ultraman away, but he immediately rights himself and begins grappling with Jamila again as they roll around trying to choke each other. Ultraman breaks free and sends a charging Jamila into a nearby building head first, crumbling to the ground around the creature. And as Ultraman tries to mount it for a rear naked choke, Jamila again throws him off and rolls around on the ground trying to break away. Ultraman eventually kicks Jamila away and then begins spraying the struggling creature with water from his hands until the struggling, gasping creature collapses on the ground around the ripped-off flags, expiring for good.
Yeah, so,
I'm gonna piss on you.
Ultraman's a
Drip,
squirter.
drip, drop.
Ultraman, my God. I mean, at least establish the fact that he has some kind of water cannon on there.
The Ultra Water Stream coming. The Ultra Water Stream. You can buy it now on QVC.
Oh man,
He's got hand vagina juice. Shoot.
Ultraman got that wop though.
Yeah, apparently. Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty great, but Jamila ends up dying. They end up making a memorial for the actual astronaut at the conference at the end of the episode, and pretty much the rest of the science team goes off, and Ito is still standing there, and it's kind of like his cannibal holocaust moment. We are the real cannibals. It's like kind of like that moment.
But I love his line.
Yeah.
Oh my God! What is it? Politicians are all the same. Only their words are beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. And by the way, in case y'all want to know, on the monument there's some French words, which translated is "Here sleeps the warrior who was sacrificed for humanity's dreams and the progress of science."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another first for the series. We're actually mourning the death of the episode's kaiju. That's pretty heavy. And to leave us with that image.
No, they did it for Pigmon, remember?
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that. I just don't remember a freaking funeral, so it didn't stick in my head as much. But yeah, this was still pretty damn heavy. And to leave us with that image, with the sun rising and the cross there in the foreground, it's a pretty, like I said, just very heavy episode.
Yeah, it's actually all together. It's like one of the most heaviest Ultraman episodes to date that we watched.
Yeah,
and it's actually, I'll go ahead first. It's actually one of my favorites that we watched in a while. It's actually really deaf and it actually builds on character development. You get to see these characters react to things differently than you would ever see before. Like, what would you do if you had to actually kill somebody that you knew was once human? In that aspect of it, I really like. I'll start with Jerry this time. Jerry, what do you think about this episode, man, as a whole?
Oh, I fucking loved it. While it was really light on actual, kaiju fighting, and we had to deal with the Ultra Jet Stream, now on sale at your local Walmart, the heaviness of the episode was amazing. The fact that they're referencing the Cold War, the fact that, obviously the Jamila was from France. Yeah. Obviously, because how else do you just fucking know about it? Mm-hmm. Why did you put French words on his monument?
Importantly, if you actually watch when he goes to attack the flags, the first one he grabs is the French flag.
Yeah, so dealing with the guilt this was his fellow comrade in science. That, you know, that's heavy. Dealing with the fact that they're, you know, trying to have peace talks during a Cold War is heavy. But I do have a few problems with the episodes. Mostly the, how about you explain this invisible wall to me? Why was there an invisible wall? Like, is it just, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, you explain the invisible jet. It's going so fast you can't see it.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck's the invisible wall?
The invisible wall was the invisible jet.
It could have been.
But they explained that the invisible jet was only it wasn't actually invisible. It was going so fast we couldn't see it.
Yeah, but then
that contradicts the wall.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that if it's invisible because it's going so fast, how is it still invisible when it's on the ground when they have to use those laser beams to see it?
Yeah, so my issue with this episode, and it could be completely the English dubbing, this is an episode I actually really want to watch in its original form, because I feel like there may have been some bad translations in this one, because some of that stuff does not make sense at all. So I need to watch the original Japanese version for sure, but just like they. It's all made up for because the story is so good, and I won't speak more on the story because everyone else needs a chance to kind of dig into it also. So I'll stick with those statements that have come out of my mouth apparently.
All right, Don, man.
Yeah, I'm probably a little lower than Jerry. I think the impressiveness of the setup causes you to overlook a lot of the shoddy science, which again I might blame on the English dub because yeah, I have the same issue with him as the invisible jet. I mean, okay, first of all, the trick that he does, because he does two different tests, because he does the one with the spinning spokes, and then he does the one where the pinwheel changes color. The pinwheel one makes no sense because you can still see that there's still a jet there, so how does the multicolored pinwheel thing apply to the jet? It doesn't make any sense.
Unless it's going so fast, it turns clear white.
But the thing is that you can still see the jet stream, so how does the multicolored pinwheel work?
Yeah, and also, white is very different than see-through.
Right, yeah. So I have no idea where the pinwheel experiment comes in. I understand the tire spoke, because that's an actual thing that you can see. I understand where he's coming from with the tire gag, but the pinwheel thing makes no sense whatsoever. And unless this was mentioned in the English dub, where in the bloody blue fuck did they get an actual water bomb? Like, is that common? Is that like a common thing that you charge off into battle with?
Well, they had balloon bombs in the other fucking episodes. They always have stupid bombs.
Yeah, but the thing is that it just looked like it didn't even look like there was actually they were shooting bombs at it. It just looked like it rained on the creature, and he just freaked out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I understand. I understand giving him the weakness of water. Like you said, he comes from a desert. He transformed on a desert planet. He had, that's you're gonna get a weakness from water that way. But the idea of discovering it just seems a little too convenient and wiped away.
Well, it's not wiped away because that's how they kill the monster at the end.
Well, no, I mean wiped away in the sense of like, how did they realize that that's the weakness?
Because it starts to react to it.
I know, but it just looks way too
I think you're nitpicking a little too much on that because that's.
I agree with Don. How did you randomly find out that like you just out of nowhere like just fucking drop water bombs on them because that's a common thing we do.
Yeah, I mean, unless I missed something in the. It's not that I don't disagree with giving it that weakness. That's not the point. It's how do you know that's
well,
they weren't dropping the water bombs on the monster. They were dropping on the fire to put the fires out that were on the buildings, and they actually.
because of the fire gag, they deduced that he was probably from a desert planet. If he's from a desert
Oh, okay.
and he mutated into this creature on a desert planet, then he probably doesn't have any water as part of his system. So
That's
adding
fair.
water has to have some kind of reaction. I'm thinking that it was just a guess. It was just a total shot in the dark. They're like, fuck it. Just try getting it wet since water has no effect. And they found a weakness. They lucked out, basically. It's a convenient plot point, but that's how I chalk it up as, since the fire didn't work and they were able to deduce that he was from a desert planet, it was just a shot in the dark on their part that just happened to work. So,
Which happens in a lot of these episodes.
it's a reach, I understand, but,
reach, but I'll probably watch it again just to see. But that's not the worst one we've heard. And like I said, the fact that the rest of the setup is so good that these, are probably as low as they are. It's probably not my top 5, but for sure out of the ones we've seen, this is a definite top 10 for me. I do go for the more fun ones in a sense, but yeah, this one, I think the setup is just that good. The fight's not that bad. It's a lot of actual hand-to-hand, rough, throwing each other around, grappling, fighting on the ground. I like that. It's a nice touch for a fight. We don't get too much miniature work, but it's not bad. And yeah, overall, one of the best.
Venom.
At this point, this is easily my favorite episode we've watched. Obviously, we've talked about the issues with the kaiju monster himself, with his look and the science behind defeating it. But between the emotional content of this episode, the that backstory, that heart-wrenching backstory for the French pilot, I just absolutely loved it. And some of the iconography in this episode, some of the most memorable shots that I'll keep in my head from this series are coming from this episode. And at this point, I've seen all the episodes that I saw when I was a kid. So moving forward, these are all first-time watches for me for the rest of this series. So I'm really looking forward to it and hoping that we get more episodes like this. But next time you give us an episode with this much emotional weight, also give us a compelling kaiju and, or should I say, compelling kaiju design. Obviously, the backstory is already great, but as of right now, 23 episodes in, this is my absolute favorite episode, despite its shortcomings. And, because the series has already been established, it is a kid's show. It is meant for children. For God's sakes, children sing the theme song. So it's solidly a kid's show. But if you're going to present me with an episode like this, that's actually going to make me put my pad and pen down and stop taking notes for a while and actually soak in what's being displayed on screen. That's a first for this series for me. I literally stopped taking notes for most of the second half of this episode because I was just so into the story. So yeah, kudos to, the Ultraman makers for this one, and fingers crossed that we're going to see more episodes like this moving forward. You guys obviously already know, so hopefully it'll be a surprise.
Monster Graveyard.
Those two words together are just awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Nice, and I'm with Venom. My favorite episode so far. I really enjoy it. I do agree there is the monster is probably my major shortcoming, the look of the monster. I shut my brain off on a lot of the science things because we've seen Mechagodzilla get defeated by a magnetic pipe. You just gotta shut your brain off in some of that shit because it's just kaiju science. It happens in all these, I don't pick that stuff really apart. I'm a little bit different, but it's whatever. That's the Ultraman report. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the episode.
You know what I want to see? I want to see a television series about the group of people that cleans up dead kaiju after a battle. There's got to be like a team in Japan that their specific purpose is to, somehow get rid of these giant bodies that are just left all over Japan after a kaiju battle.
In the 90s, '98 cartoon, the sequels in the series for the '98, the cartoon show, there's an episode where they deal with that. That's one of the episodes. One of the episodes is them dealing with the aftermath of a fight.
That's one of the things. I'm rewatching Neon Genesis Evangelion because this chick I've been hanging out with has never seen it. And we were talking about Shin Godzilla, and I was like, "Oh, you got to watch Evangelion. It's by the same director, and you'll notice a lot of Neon Genesis Evangelion in the Shin Godzilla soundtrack." So we started watching it, and that's one of the things I like about Evangelion. It almost always shows like the wreckage afterwards, and them like cleaning up the dead angels and all of that shit. Like, series is down to fucking earth. That's like a horror comedy series waiting to happen. I want to see it. Yeah, I guess closest we got was in Pacific Rim. When everyone comes in, like but it's like black market. They're taking that shit to resell it. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Ron Perlman's like, I'll sell that.
But oh my god, you're right. Two guys who go and clean up kaiju stuff, like. Well, I don't know. Do you do it where it's the Pacific Rim, where it's the two guys going and in like cleaning up and selling it, or do you do the government version where it's the two guys working for the government cleaning? Like one of them is older and he just hates this fucking job, but the benefits are so good, and he's got like, you know, a child with disabilities at home or a sick child or something, so he has to keep doing it. And the other one's like this upstart, bright-eyed kid who fucking loves kaiju.
I would do both.
The series is writing itself. Oh my god! Somebody call Netflix.
For real.
Good shit.
I'd watch it.
Nope. Oh man! But yeah, I mean, that was the end of my commentary for the episode. Absolutely loved it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Dope.
Yes. This is an episode that I feel like we could have some deep conversations on. And I really like both me and Don, while we have issues with it, our issues really have nothing to do with like the deep conversation that's going on with this episode. And I do want to go back and watch it in its original Japanese form, because I feel like this is an episode where that might really matter. So I may pop in that Blu-ray tonight. Because while I don't have my fucking DVDs with me, so that I could watch the English dub, and I had to watch it on YouTube, I do indeed have my Blu-rays, so I may watch my Ultraman Blu-rays tonight, figure out what disc it's on.
Nice.
Alright, well, with that being said, let's do our last roundabout and get out of here. So thank you everyone for joining us for Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space. We hope you had a good time. And without further ado, we're going to see what everyone's been doing recently. So, Derek, what have you been recording recently? What do you got to promote?
Well, the week of this show, our Cinema Attacks Christmas episode should be out. We covered the Santa Claus trilogy. That's right. We do a lot of Tim Allen impersonations that episode, and you can't wait. Ho, 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 ho.
That first movie is so fucking weird. Like, okay, like the fucking Santa Claus just dies. Okay, dies in front of a fucking child, disappears like a goddamn Jedi. Tim Allen's just like, okay, I guess I'm gonna do this fucking job, and does it, and then and he gets back, and none of the elves give half a fuck that Santa's dead.
Well, they actually make a joke about that in the second movie, where everyone likes you more since you took over the job.
Do they? I've only ever seen the first one.
Well,
isn't like Andy Dick in like the third one?
No, Martin Short.
Oh, Martin Short. Oh well, I fucking love Martin Short.
Yeah,
so
they
fuck
actually build on that because they actually have like a lot of like the holiday characters come as they have like a committee where you get like the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Mother Nature. They all come have like holiday meetings and shit where they talk about political shit. It's kind of it's like
Martin
the Justice
Short
League of fucking holiday characters.
Martin Short is fucking wonderful.
Yeah, they're pretty funny, especially if you watch them back to back. You know, because they have like continuity and they talk about certain issues and shit. It's actually fun. But that should be out. And of course, recently we recorded an episode of No More Room in Hell, where me and Venom and Mike Merriman, or as we call him, Mike Skypey Man, talked about some Subway horror films from the UK, Raw Meat and Creep from 2004. Check that show out. We had Gary Hill on from Cinema Beef. Pretty fun time. And finally, they're here. We're going to be probably getting back into recording after the new year starts, because Lacey's just busy with doing like all those Christmas shows for Cut to the Chase right now. Big holiday shows and big holiday planning, and start off fresh in the new year, but still going. We still talk every day, got plans for new episodes, so that's good at least. And that's about it for me. A few guest spots that I filmed recently for other shows, but yeah, that's about it.
Dope. Don, what do you got going on?
All right, so I ended up and I did an episode with Derek on Cinema Attack. The last episode in the rotation was looking at the released films in the Hotel Inferno trilogy. I know that there's at least 6, right? There's 6 plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 6 plans, but only 2 have been officially released. I think the 3rd one is supposed to be out soon. If it's not finished, it should be out pretty soon. But anyways, we looked at the 2 that are available, Hotel Inferno and Hotel Inferno 2 Cathedral of Pain. That can be found on the Cinema Attack feed. I also do, as a running joke, the unofficial 3rd co-host of Fresh Cuts. So pretty much been on there ever since, May, June, somewhere? Yeah, I've been in there pretty much ever since quarantine. Nothing else to do, so yeah, been with them every week, except for one when I couldn't. We changed the recording dates too early, and I could get to it in time. But other than that, been with them ever since. Last episode should have been Don't Listen, and I think the new one is Anything for Jackson, which should be out around the time that this is released. Other than that, there should be 1 or 2 episodes of Bay of Blood, or as I should say now, the Graveyard Shit podcast, which is the new name for the show. There should be 2 or 3 episodes that are ready to be released. No idea. I have no idea what a recording schedule is. The joke on the show is that the recording schedule just basically goes, hey, you up? All right, I'll be on Skype in 30 minutes, be there. And we're literally not that far off. And that's like literally what the recording schedule is like. So, yeah, I've recorded a couple of episodes with them, like within the past month or so. So they should be ready to come out, so keep an eye on that one. Other than that, that's all I've got.
All right, Venom. I always save you for last. 17 podcasts to go. Let's do it.
Well, today won't be as long since Derek and Don both already covered my work on No More Room in Hell and the sidecast. No More Room in Hell presents Fresh Cuts. Of course, Fresh Cuts is weekly, so check that out every week. On In the Mic of Madness, which finally made its triumphant return this month, we just did kind of a fun episode where we did basically our top 10 favorite sex scenes from horror films, or spank bank material as we called it. It was a lively little discussion talking about all of our memories of diddling ourselves to certain scenes in horror films. So yeah, check that out on the latest In the Mic of Madness. On the next episode, we will finally finish off the Frank Henenlotter retrospective with the first of the Basket Case films, and then we'll probably do Basket Case 2 and 3 on the following episode. Look out for that on the Prescribed Films podcast network. on It's Not Horror Okay, a movie commentary podcast I do with Mr. Neil Lemoy from NFW and Heather and Scott from the Friday Nightmares podcast. On the last episode, we did a commentary for Kill and Kill Again, which is the 1981 sequel to 1980's Kill or Be Killed, a pair of South African martial arts films that are just fun as hell, terrible as hell, but fun as hell. So check out those commentaries. Is that all from me? I think that's all for me for my actual shows for now, since I still unfortunately have a couple of shows on extended hiatuses. But as far as a couple of guest spots go, you can see me on hear me on episode 3 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror Italian Month retrospective. We did. Our director was Alberto Di Martino. We looked at 3 of his films, which included The Killer is on the Phone, Holocaust 2000, also known as The Chosen, and The Antichrist. So check that episode out. That one should still be available on the Horophilia Network for now. And then my latest guest spot was on Cut to the Chase with Mr. Dan Chase and Miss Lacey Liu. This was, of course, the part of their Cut to the Chase-Miss series, their Christmas series. And we looked at one of my all-time favorite films. Some people consider it a Christmas film, some do not. But since the entire third act occurs during the Christmas season, I think we can count it. And that is, of course, Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands. So check that out on the latest episode of Cut to the Chase. And that's all from me for now.
Aw, I love that movie.
Oh, such a tearjerker.
Not a fan of the movie. I'm not a big Tim Burton fan, though, in general.
Yeah, you don't like fun things.
No, I like Ed Wood. His Ed Wood movie's fucking awesome.
Oh, that's a great one.
And I do love Johnny Depp. I've never really cared for that movie or The Nightmare Before Christmas. Even though he didn't direct that movie, right. We still call it his movie.
Oh, Henry Selick. It's got his stink all over it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's the movie version of Edgar Allan Poe.
There you go.
Okay, anyway, not going to do a whole podcast on fucking Tim Burton. As for me, Kill the Cast came back, and we did a show that was, we all 3 picked 5 movies we would want to see get a modern day remake / reboot. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good choices, a lot of good conversation in that, so check that out. But that's literally all I've done. That's all you've gotten from me for fucking, 3 months, but now I'm back, and we've got Underwater Kaiju coming out. I will get to work on getting all the other side shows back up and running. I actually think my number one priority, besides Kill the Cast, is getting me and Venom's Cult Unknown show back up and running and doing a second episode, because we already know what we want to do. We have the topic picked out. But you guys do have to understand it takes us a month to do that show. Yeah. We researched the fuck out of it. Which, by the way, the topic we were thinking about that we said we're going to do, there's a new documentary on that topic's been added to Amazon Prime.
I saw that. Yep. I haven't.
Did you? Okay.
It, but yeah, I did see that it was added. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either yet, but I saw that and I was like, well, I need to make fucking Cult Unknown episode 2 happen.
There you go.
So I'm back to podcasting, everyone. Welcome me back. I took fucking 3 months off or something, because my life.
Yeah.
Was it? It might have been. Yeah, it might have been more. Well, yeah, it was because I took.
Because you
I got the new job and I took time off from that.
Yeah.
So I could deal with that. And the only podcasts I was doing really was the summer series for Podcast Under the Stairs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then
everything else happened. We get you, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you know, you know. If you don't, fucking, I don't know what to tell you. So that's it. We're out. Thank you to everyone for coming back on our triumph return and letting us give you our visions from Monsterland. We are Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, and we will see y'all next time.
Peace.
Later.
Adios.
Destroyer!
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Ghost Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick Six Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, Two Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.